What's up, guys? Welcome back to Technique of the Week right here on Deco-Crete TV. My name's Jeff.
I'm Jason. This is cool, man. This is a dual. We got a dual Technique of the Week.
Jason started this show like 7 or 8 years ago, and you could know him as the star. And
hi, my name's Jason, and welcome to Technique of the Week. Today we're going to be showing you.
Over the last couple of years, just due to Jason's busy schedule, I've had to host a couple episodes of Technique of the Week, but this is our first ever co-hosted.
Double. I mean, it's like heck, maybe we'll have to try it again. We'll see how it goes.
And I'll be honest, we've been looking to make this video for quite a while. This is going to be super cool. This is a technique that is going to take your stamped concrete to a whole new level where it barely even looks like stamped concrete anymore.
Yep. This is the most natural type of look. Like if you were doing real flagstone, like and actually laying them in. This is the closest thing you're going to get to the real deal. So
absolutely. So this is going to be a super cool episode, guys. Stay tuned because we can't wait to show you guys what this is going to look like. So today's project is on this beautiful desert flagstone pattern from Deco-Crete, and man, what a great canvas to do something like this. This is so cool. So this thing was poured about 2 or 3 months ago, but it's always a good idea when you're doing a grout like this. This is also custom acid stained, and it's always a good idea to let it cure out for at least a month.
When I originally started doing stamped concrete, we always used color hardener. So we were using it as like a slurry on step faces, and those over the years I was like, when I got the color hardener on another piece of the patio or something happened, I was like, this stuff sticks freaking good. Like it is like
and it's strong. It's hard. Yeah, it doesn't wear away.
Yeah, and I never got a call back on the step faces, unless somebody hit it with their lawnmower or something like that. But I got to thinking, like, why, like, if we're doing it on a vertical surface, like, why can't we put it in the joints? Over the years, like, what we've learned, like, an important part of that is actually sealing the rocks first. Like, we want to seal the rocks. And if you guys are listening, just take a guess of why you think that is real quick. If you guessed it makes it easier to clean up, you were right.
It's almost impossible without it, to be honest with you.
And we don't put any, we don't put any polymer or anything in the color hardener. It's good enough just as is. If we put polymer in it, then it makes it a bear that you almost can't clean it.
We tried that a couple times, and it was a pain in the butt. Yeah. And
so when we seal these rocks, what we're not gonna try to get any sealer down in the joint. So
the only time we're gonna ever say this is don't spray the sealer.
Yeah, don't spray. You have to roll it.
You have to roll it.
You have to roll this. But we're gonna make very sure. We're gonna take a 3/8 inch nap. We're not gonna use a big nap because we don't want it to get down in the thing. So it takes a little bit longer to seal it. Like it takes a lot of extra time to seal it because you're trying to be careful not to get in the joints because we want that color hardener to bond.
Honestly, a 9-inch roller works the best. Again, two things you'll never hear us say is use a 9-inch roller and dip and roll. But in this case, if you use an 18, it's just really even harder to keep it out of these joints. So a 9-inch, you can just kind of do each stone and just keep going. So the other one little piece of prep work that we did on this, and this is going to be different every job, but there's always a couple spots, maybe up along the building, maybe out, where the form was at. Where the grout line just wasn't quite all the way out to the edge, or maybe the grout line wasn't quite deep enough. So it's always a good idea just to go over this thing with an angle grinder, just with a little tuck point blade, and just knock down any spots that look like they're going to stick up past. Everything needs to be below the tops of the stones. And again, up along the building, you can just finish those out. Doesn't take a ton of time, but it's always a good idea just to run over with the grinder real quick.
Yeah, to do the color hardener grout, all we're going to do is we're going to sift the color hardener just like we would sift it for like a rock face step line or something like that. And we've tried it both ways. I've tried it both ways, but the sand, there's too big a sand in the color hardener by itself to be able to do that. And it just wants to drag and it doesn't look very good. So that's why we sift it and are able to put it in there, and that makes a nice grout, just like a grout like you'd have for tile or whatever.
And after that, we just mix it with water, right?
Mix it with water and get it to the right consistency. Then we'll use a grout bag, just a normal grout bag, and we'll try to get about the amount that you'd think to fill up the joint. So you don't want too much, but you don't want not enough either. So it kind of gets a second to try to get that dialed in. We're going to put that on there, and then we just use a simple like regular tile grout float. And this is a very important part of this, Jeff, is that we make sure that it's pushed down good. If we're just gliding the float over top of it and not really pushing it down into there, that's when you can have a problem. But if that color hardener makes good contact and it gets smeared on the bottom edge of these lines, it's gonna bond.
So the color we're using today is our Sun Buff color hardener, and you know, you guys can experiment with it whatever colors you want, but to be the most realistic, I mean, most mortar is kind of grayish, maybe a little bit of a mix between a gray and a tan, and so honestly our oyster white color is the normal go-to. On this one, you know, it was everything's nice and tan here. We just wanted to try to keep the gray out of it, so we went with the Sun Buff, and honestly, you know, we did a sample of this and it turned out great. So experiment all you want, but to be the most realistic, something that kind of the gray mortar color is what we're looking for. And then, you know, after you get it pushed down real nice, what I like to do is just take the float over it, kind of strike it off, get it pushed down really, really nice. And then you can go ahead and start scraping some off the edges. You know, that's just gonna make the cleanup easier. If you don't, you know, the less you can leave behind, the easier the cleanup's gonna be. And then, you know, as a final thing, especially on this one, we're gonna just try to concave it just a little bit. So we're just gonna kind of strike over it at the very end just to kind of, you know, pull just a little bit more of it out. If you wanted a more of a flatter feel, then, you know, you might just be done after that first strike. But, you know, go over it a couple times, just make sure it's all pushed down really, really nice.
So another really important thing when you're doing this is if you're doing it in hot weather and the sun's on it, obviously we're gonna try to pick times of the day where it's not as hot out, you know, get a good start in the morning, or like later on when it gets in the shade, or whatever you got to do. But this, if you're putting the grout in these joints, okay, and then you aren't getting to it with the grout float right away, now that color hardener is getting dry and it's hardening up, and if it's not wet enough, it's not going to make a good bond to the joints. So that's a very important part of this. You don't want to get more out than you can strike off right away. So you have to work maybe between your saw cuts, like maybe just work within that for each time or each bag, and to make sure it's getting that good bind. That's a very important part of this. Some of the other things you can do with help with this, what I've done in the past, is I've actually put ice in the cooler, a couple of bags of ice in a cooler, and then filled the rest of it up with water, and then go ahead and dip your water, use your ice water to put in the color hardener. That helps a lot, that keeps it cool. Doesn't set up as fast on a really hot day. The other thing is, with this sifted color hardener and you got it a little bit thicker, there's a tendency for it to have some shrinkage cracks in it. So don't get alarmed about that, because when we go back over it for the final grout, we can or the final clean with a sponge, we can kind of smooth those out and get rid of that. That stuff's more just aesthetic stuff, it's not structural. Okay, after all of our grouting's done, and it's probably been maybe like an hour and a half since we put this down, and you start to notice on the pattern, you see this white here, and this is still a little bit wet, obviously, because it's thicker. So that means that this is dry. So when we get to this stage of it, what we found really helps, rather than going back and trying to wipe all that up with a sponge, if you take a buffing machine and a white pad like this, it's on this machine, and you run that on, it hits the high spots and takes a lot of that stuff off. And then all we're going to do after that is just take a leaf blower and blow off the excess. Then we'll start wiping it with sponges and water to clean up what's ever left. You don't want to do this too quick, because if you do this too quick, and these joints have to be tight enough where it's not going to smear. Because if you run this over top of this and their joints are still a little bit wet, you're going to make even more of a mess. So the timing on this is everything when you're about ready to start buffing it.
So now that Jason is behind us over there with the buffer machine, and again, you buff it, blow it off, but we still have, you know, a little bit along the edges that we're going to need to get off, and eventually we'll end up kind of finishing the grout here. Now, a couple things it's nice to have: clean buckets of water. Honestly, you're going to go through a lot of these, so on a larger job, it's nice to have somebody just filling buckets of water and emptying them and bringing clean buckets. A normal just sponge like this works great if you're doing the mop up. It's also nice to have a little Scotch-Brite pad here. This is something that, you know, if there's a little spot that you need that's stubborn with the sponge, you can hit it with this. It's basically the same thing Jason has on the buffer there, it's just something we can use by hand. Now on this first once over, you know, this stuff is still pretty green. I mean, if I push into that with my finger, I can still mess it up pretty good. So all we're trying to do on this first one is just get rid of the stuff that's on the very tops of the stones and try to loosen all that stuff up. And then we'll come back through on our second pass and we'll actually finish the grout. The other thing that's really important to watch out for, you know, is making sure a spot like this right here, I can feel the sand that's in there on top of that color hardener. If I don't get that off, that's gonna be really, really hard to clean up later. And so a little bit of a residue that's on your sponge, we can get that after a little while. The stuff with the sand in it, that's what we really wanna attack. The other thing is that, you know, when you have this water out here and you're wringing your sponges out, we need to keep this sponge, you know, wrung out pretty good. We don't want water everywhere here. We don't want water falling down in there. That as you're wringing this sponge out, you're not splashing water everywhere all over the slab, because that's gonna be hard to deal with. So now that we're at this point, you know, it's been buffed down, leaf blown off. We've got, you know, the major bulk off of all the edges, and we're just down to two things, is this residue right here, and then finishing out the grout lines. So as far as this residue goes, I mean, we're gonna try to continue to clean this off as we go along, but just something like that there, that will pressure wash off, you know, if you're careful, maybe later today or at worst case tomorrow. So we are still gonna wash some of this down. It doesn't all have to be perfect, and the sealer will help, you know, blend some of that together too. But the big thing for this pass is to try to get these grout lines fixed up. You can see that, like right in there, there's a little spot that's a little bit low. And so we could just brush over all that with the sponge, just lightly dampen. We don't want to get a lot of water down in. This stuff is still, if I rub that hard enough, I could still dig it out of there. And the idea is, you know, it kind of makes this look nice if you just kind of brush to the point where it looks a little bit sandy, kind of like grout would. And so we're just going to start at the corner here, and this time we're going to focus heavily on the grout line. And even at this point, you can see that if I get down into that grout with my sponge, it is still going to want to smear around a little bit. So for this part, kind of like the first pass, I'm just trying to, you know, just hit the high spot. Yep. Whoops. Yep. That's one thing you got to be careful on the final wipe. So for our third and basically final pass here over it by hand, is we're just kind of trying to, again, just go over, make sure we don't have any spots that we missed where we got a little bit, you know, down in some texture or something that's got the sand in it, pull all that off. And then we're just kind of trying to get this somewhat clean. You know, you have to maybe empty your bucket of water out, you know, every, you know, I don't know, 5 or 6 feet just to keep clean water. But we're just trying to get this to the point where it's going to be safe to let it go till the end of the day or tomorrow morning, and then we can clean it off with a pressure washer. Honestly, a lot of this kind of stuff right there, it'll come off with a pressure washer anyways, but
at this point, we've got everything washed up as good as we can. At this point, we could sit out here for probably 5 more hours and try to get all this clean, or we can wait 5 more hours and just pressure wash it.
No, because it is. When you try to like keep cleaning this, it's like your sponge always gets down in there and it pulls a little bit of the residue. And like you said, the best thing is just now that we got all that sandy stuff off, just
give it a final pressure wash. Yep.
Final pressure wash, and then we'll tomorrow, if we can get all that done this afternoon, tomorrow we'll just spray and back roll a final coat of sealer on it, and she's good to go.
It's all good, yeah.
It's looking absolutely awesome, and so. Well, thanks for, you know, hanging out today. Absolutely. Thanks to Matt Bradshaw for giving us a hand and everything. This thing is absolutely fantastic. And thank you guys for tuning in to Deco-Crete TV. I got to say, man, we talk about this all the time, how much it means to us, everybody tuning in. And
yeah, we appreciate that so much, you know, and stuff, watching these videos. And it means the world to us when you guys, that it's helping you guys. Like, I think that's the whole end goal, is to hopefully, if somebody's wanting to try this, this takes a little bit of fear out of it, and like, hey, I think I can do that, you know. And I think that's what this is all about, and just kind of propelling this industry forward and keep pushing the limits of it and coming up with new stuff, and that's kind of where we're focused. So
yep. And if you guys try this and you have any questions or anything like that, just let us know in the comments, send us an email, send us a message. We'd love to talk to you guys any way that you guys feel comfortable. So thanks for tuning in. If you guys do want to do something for us, if this video was helpful, all you gotta do is just hit those couple little buttons down there, like, subscribe if you haven't already, share it on social media. It's completely free of charge to you, but it means the world to us.
Helps us. Yep. Thanks.
So from all of us here at Deco-Crete TV, thanks for watching.
Thank you.
See you next time.